Well, hello and good Friday morning to you. It's good to see you on 10 with Tom. Just a couple of announcements before we move into what we're going to try and wrap up today. First of all, don't forget we've got our Zoom meeting tomorrow at 5 o'clock, so we hope you'll join us on that. If you need some information, shoot me an email and we'll be sure and get all that information out to you today. Also, if you're playing Family Feud, don't forget we go again at 10 o'clock this morning. Today could be the day that we have our first winner. But if you haven't been playing, it's not too late to get in the game. We're having a lot of fun with that. That's on our Facebook page, the Village Church Youth. Also, you may want to post a comment either on our Facebook page or on the YouTube page, Pit 76 Temple 0, and let us know what your favorite song is. Our playlist for favorite songs from our Facebook group has doubled. We're now up to 4 songs, but we'd like to get some more. So if you haven't done that already, please do. And now, yesterday we asked you guys, we gave you a challenge to find things in your house and spell out the word Dairy Queen, because I was just on an ice cream kick. Didn't hear from anybody yesterday. Heard some interesting stories from some people about ice cream, but did not see any pictures. So we're going to go with another Dairy Queen question today. We're just going to keep there until we get something. So the question for today is, which Dairy Queen treat are you? So give that some thought and post your answer, and we'd love to hear not just what kind of treat you are, but why you're that treat. So that's where we are for today, still mired in ice cream. So back to our story. When we left you guys yesterday, I had just received notice that I was headed to the Nuprin Fitness Championship. As I was coaching and being a youth pastor and doing all kind of crazy things. So I get these airline tickets and I go to the airport and I get on a plane, and when I land in Colorado Springs, there's somebody waiting for me. They've got one of those little signs that has your name on it, and it makes you feel really important. And they met a couple other people there, and we took off for Cheyenne Mountain Resort in Colorado Springs. Beautiful facility, which is where they kept us for the few days that we were out there. We competed in numerous events at the United States Olympic Training Center, which was awesome. So we got to enjoy that. We had to compete at elevation. So, when you're not used to, being a mile high, that's a little different. But we had some fun with that and just had an incredible experience out there. Dan Reeves, the head coach of the Denver Broncos at the time, was our keynote speaker. Spent time with Steve Lundquist, the Olympic gold medalist from 1984, while we were out there, and just an amazing experience. They gave us all kind of free gear. Nuprin, as I talked about yesterday, Nuprin was one of the sponsors of the Olympics that year, of the United States Olympic team. So we got all kind of Olympic gear that they provided for us, Olympic travel bags, and just they treated us absolutely royally, like we were Olympic athletes for the entire time we were there. It was so cool. So when the whole thing is over, we finished the banquet the last day. We've all gotten our medals for everything. And they say, okay, now it's time to go. Grab your stuff, jump in the van. We had 55 minutes until our flight, and it's a 65-minute trip from Colorado Springs to the Denver airport where our flights were flying out of. And so the driver's going as fast as she can, and when we get to the outdoor ticket counter, which basically you just check your luggage in and go, this was before there was all the TSA stuff, she drops us off. We drop our bags, and the guy says, hey, don't worry about your bags. They'll get there probably not until tomorrow, but here's your gate number, and just go in there, go through the door, turn left, and run. You might make your plane. And so there was another guy, we didn't know we were on the same flight, but we both started running in this general direction, and it was... Your parents may understand this, your grandparents, but I was like O.J. Simpson in the Hertz commercial. We're running through the airport, and we got our sweatsuits on that they had given us, and we're running through, and we're jumping over benches and chairs and trying to get there as fast as we can, and everybody's like staring at us like, who are these people that are dressed up in Olympic stuff? And so we go racing there, and just as we get to the gate, I go bursting through, and I'm like, oh, I made it. And there were 2 seats left on the plane. So I go and I sit down on one, and then pretty soon here comes the other guy, and it's like, oh, we're on the same flight. So we got the last 2 seats. They were waiting on us, and they closed the door. And so now our experience is done. It's time to relax and head home. And so as I'm heading back to Pittsburgh, I'm journaling things that had gone on during my trip, as I had been doing that whole time. And as I was journaling all the things that happened, I pulled out my Bible. And when I opened the Bible, it just happened to open to Psalm 37. And so I read these words again that I had claimed when I was about 10 years old. Trust in the Lord and do good. Dwell in the land and enjoy safe pasture. Delight yourself in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart. And it hit me that that's exactly what God had done. It took me back to when I was 10 years old and shooting a Nerf basketball in my bedroom and dreaming of playing on the United States Olympic team and being an Olympic athlete. And then the transition to being able to cover big events. And it was like, oh my gosh, Lord, you've done it. You knew that dream all along and you never forgot it. Even though I had forgotten it and moved on to new things, you never forgot that dream. And God honored that. As I was pursuing Him and getting involved in youth ministry, God never abandoned me or my dream. And it was an incredible experience. And now I look back in all the years of all the places that I've been. You know, I've been to a Super Bowl, and that was because of youth ministry and connections that were made. I've been to 6 Final Fours. I've been to 5 national championship football games. I've covered bowl games. I've been to 40 bowl games. Been to the national gymnastics championships, the national track and field championships. We've been to all the 2 Frozen Fours. And a lot of it had to do with connections that I made through youth ministry. And I've seen how God has used one time after another, used the connections that I'm making as I've been serving Him to allow me to go back and to do the things that I always wanted to do. You know, I was called back on a couple of occasions to serve as a media host for an NCAA regional basketball championship. And got to do that again, even though I was at that time already entrenched in youth ministry. I directed a radio show on a Christian radio station in Pittsburgh. It was a program for teens on Saturday nights. It was put together by one of my friends who does a camping ministry in Western Pennsylvania. We had a great time with that, and spent a lot of time working on all the commercials and getting all the segments for the show set. And so I loved getting to do the radio thing again. From time to time, I've been asked to write an article for something. And as I look back, everything that I've ever wanted to do in my life, God has allowed it to happen. Even one thing that I haven't mentioned yet. In 1996, I was at a church where 8 of the starting members of the high school soccer team were from my youth group. So I had to become a soccer fan. They were all bonkers over soccer. And in 1996, the Olympics were held in the United States, mostly in Atlanta. But soccer, they moved it all over the place. And they were playing Olympic soccer games in Washington, D.C., which was only about a 2-hour drive from where our church was located. And one Sunday morning, we got up really early. We drove into D.C. We went to church in D.C. Then after church, we headed over to RFK Stadium and watched 2 Olympic soccer games. And as I'm sitting there at the Olympics, I'm like, okay, God, this is way too cool. You not only allowed me to be an Olympian for a weekend, but now I've made it to the Olympics. And that was because of youth ministry. That was the thing that tied it all together. So I want you to know that God knows your dreams. Give them over to God. Let Him do what He will do with them. And He's going to blow your mind with the things that He does in your life. Even when things don't seem to be going the way you think they should be going, God hasn't forgotten you. And so I hope that's what you take from this week. Now, there is still one thing in all of that my life is missing. And so when we get together tomorrow, I'll have to tell you about the last piece and how God used youth ministry to bring that last piece into place. And it's a cool story as well. So that's where we are for today. I hope you guys have an incredible Friday. Remember, if you're going to the beaches, you got to keep moving. This isn't a time to just soak up the sun, but we're allowed to get out starting tonight at 5 to get out and to do some exercising and so on. But whatever you're doing, please be safe. We can't wait to see you guys. We love you. Have a great Friday.